Um, this week's project, I am working in Whatconverts, is lead tracking software that a lot of marketing agencies use, and it's extremely useful. Tracking form submissions, calls, etc. And there's a lot of good things you can do inside the platform, but there are a few questions that we've been asking we can't answer with the existing functionality. Hopefully, at some point, you guys at Whatconverts will develop this, because there's a lot of very good data that you can collect within the platform. So instead, what I need to do is find a way to pull out the data using the API so that I can do the analysis that I want to do. Here is an example. If we go to the API for developers section, you can see, well, here's the overview of creating the API key and how you can get access to the data, but it's here, this section where it says leads. And look at the responses, the parameters you can get in the responses. There's a plethora, including such things as keywords. There's a lot of lead intelligence you can pull out, and all this is text-based information. So things that are very easy to analyze using a large language model. So here you go, yeah, lead keyword in particular. One of the questions we're asking is, what is the quality of leads based on whether they're contactable or not, what the quote value is, what the sales value is, based on the keyword that brings them in. Dates, so days of the week, does that affect such things as non-contactable rates, quotable rates, etc. There's a bunch of other things down here, lead analysis, etc. So the old school way of doing this, the easy way for me to do it, would be just write up some code, API calls, get it into Python or whatever, into C, and then use an API call to whether it's Anthropic, OpenAI, and just start doing the analysis that I want to do. But that's very, what can I say? I think there's a little bit of a straitjacket, so to say. So what I've actually been looking at is using an MCP, and there's quite a bit of hype around this. Anthropic first released this in November of last year. Now it is all the rage. Just type in MCP and you see a billion YouTube videos about it. It's a very good article that I actually read by this lady here, Senia, whatever. It's on Hugging Face, and Anthropic, of course, has got a very good intro themselves. If you head over to this URL, oncontextprotocol.io, there's a quick start guide for developing servers, client, etc. So I'm not entirely sure how much work this is going to involve, but this is the name of the game. So what I started with is going through their work example, just to make sure I know where all the bits fit in. And the beauty of it as well is you don't have to follow the documentation line by line. I ended up just using Cursor. I got into Cursor, and here you can see there's a lot of back and forth, fixing bugs, fixing things that'll work, etc. And here essentially it's not really about coding. It's the large language model handles that. It's more about getting the plumbing right, and that's what I find a lot of time. It's the plumbing that you've got to get right. The coding part, you don't have to handle that really. You can use the LLM as a guide to make sure your plumbing is correct. Once the plumbing is correct, things work, right? So now I have this server set up on my local machine, and I spin it up. Once it's running, and I head over to Claude. See this hammer now appears, and this is the desktop version of Claude. You can't do this on the UI, UI. And you can see there are now two tools, right? The tools that have now been added, custom tools that have been added to my Claude desktop. A Get Alerts tool, a Get Forecast tool, and they are using the MCP server to make API calls to the US weather service. And now I can get real-time weather information. I could ask, what are the weather alerts in, I don't know, California? Let's see what happens. Right? It's actually using the tool now. I'm going to allow it to use the tool. It's making those calls, and it's getting real time, right? Because with large language models, the knowledge is cut off at some data in the past, recent past. Here it is getting real-time information because it now has access to a tool that contains this real-time data. So that's my plan here. I want to build MCP to use Whatconverts. Is that possible? I have no idea. There's only one way to find out. I saw one line here that took my interest, right? There are a lot of pre-built tools already, a lot of things you can use. Already built for all the Google services, things like Slack, etc. But here we go. If you have a niche tool that is not good, you can build your own MCP server using SDK. Often, it's just a thin wrapper around that tool's API, exposing a function in the MCP format. So conceptually, I know what that means, right? I have an intuitive understanding of that. I'm not a hardcore coder. I've been coding for many years, probably 8 years or so. So I understand the concept. So I'm going to be looking in the documentation. I'm going to use Cursor to help me out to see if I can do this, because then what that will give me is the ability to simply go into Claude Desktop. I can start asking questions of the data in my Whatconverts account. In theory, right? As in, I can specify a client, the data that I have on all the leads, and I could ask simple things such as, is there a difference between lead quality based on some parameter between weekdays and weekends? I can ask it to start making some visualizations, etc. Just using Claude the normal way you would use it, that chat interface anyway, but it is actually accessing real-time information from within that account. So yeah, I'm going to dive in and see how that goes. Alrighty.